What is up, family? Welcome to Speak. Yo, it's all smiles on this show. It's mainly because of this guy. Anyway, appreciate y'all tuning in. You could be watching any sports show, but you're watching ours. Rules are very simple. Volume up, put your remotes down, and just stay and hang out for a while. On the far end, that is Slick. Rick, the view. Slick, what you laughing for, man?
Don't tell him. Don't tell.
What?
He's snitching. He's snitching. He's snitching.
Hey. Acho, you asked. You should have known better.
I did ask. That is NBA insider Slick Rick the Bucher, knowledgeable about all things. To his right, the brilliant Joy Taylor, who's already hosted The Herd earlier today.
Correct.
How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm ready to go. I got a little.
She did.
Look,
she already got the warm up in. Okay, so her take's coming out the gate blazing hot. Her right, the brilliant Dave Hellman, knowledgeable about all things NFL and all things truly sports. And then y'all know this man needs no introduction. Eagles all-time rushing leader, LaShawn Shady McCoy, 252 live. Okay, let's get things started because I know you all were watching the Lakers game last night. Now, unfortunately, they got beat. The lead got up to 20 points by the Clippers in the fourth quarter. It was not good, although the final score was only a 7-point differential, but the Clippers put that work on the Lakers. Now, it was kind of a reality check, not just for Lakers fans, but LeBron James as well. Maybe they aren't necessarily the championship team we thought they were. It was a fascinating game, Shady, because we knew this. The winner of that game would be the 5 seed.
Yeah.
The loser of that game would be the 7 seed. The Golden State Warriors sitting in between as a 6 seed. Now, that game was hugely important because if you're the 7 seed, you got to play in the play-in tournament, meaning you aren't guaranteed a play-off spot. You still have to fight and play extra time for it. But, Shady, we went into that game with high hopes. Lakers had won 7 out of their previous 8, had won 4 straight. They had looked great. But then that loss was not pretty. Did it change your opinion of the Lakers?
No. I mean, they could have lost that game with rest, with all the health. I mean, that's a solid Clippers team.
True.
And Kawhi Leonard, he came to play.
He did.
And he played a lot of minutes. We haven't been seeing Kawhi play that long.
Correct.
He actually played a lot of minutes last night, and he looked good on defense and offense. And then Westbrook, he actually showed me something. He showed, first of all, from the get-go, he was shooting the 3-ball, which I was surprised. Like, okay, Russ, he got something to prove. I look at the Lakers, like, I like the fact that they went out there and played.
Sure.
You know, that showed me some grit, some toughness. Because I thought they were going to sit. All the reports talked about how they don't play back-to-backs and et cetera, but they actually did. So nothing really changed. I just think that they played a good team, a desperate team, right? And they lost. They could have lost that game with rest, like I said. And don't forget this, that the Clippers actually had 3 days off. So they lost to a good team.
Joy, where you at on that? Your opinion change of the Lakers in that really ugly loss to the Clippers?
No, and if you wanted a lock last night, it was this one. The Clippers have won 11 straight against their roommates at Crypto. This is the Clippers' Super Bowl, Game 7 World Series, NCAA Women's Championship. This is everything. The World Cup, the Masters, no matter what it is. This is everything to the Clippers. So they're going to get up for this game. We all know why, but they also do. The Lakers are coming off of a road trip, a back-to-back that went into overtime. So I'm not surprised. I was really actually surprised that LeBron and AD actually played and played the minutes that they played. I was more disappointed in the role players in this game. You would have expected them to step up a little bit more, contribute. They really did not. But, you know, it was an off night for the Lakers. It's easily explained away. You can call it excuses or it's reasons or it's both, whatever. We talked about it yesterday. Maybe it was them. They dodged something here. I don't think they intended to, but they could have lost this at full strength because they have before. They've lost 11 straight to the Clippers.
11 straight. Slick, I got to be honest, man. My opinion changed in large part because I was like, okay, Lakers, let me see how you all can play when you are tired. Because in the playoffs, you're going to be tired. Though you won't play back-to-backs in the playoffs, you might only get 1 day's rest, and you're going to consistently play good teams. And we all know the Lakers' opponents haven't been great as of late. You can only play who's on your schedule, but regardless, they haven't been great. So I wanted to see the Lakers look competitive. My issue is they didn't even look competitive last night. And it wasn't a lack of skill. It was exclusively a lack of will. Exclusively. Early on in the first quarter, first 4 minutes, they weren't contesting shots. They weren't closing out on shots. They weren't chasing after loose balls. Like, they were just tired.
Right.
And you're going to be tired in the playoffs. So that's why, Slick, my opinion maybe didn't change, but it was illuminated. What say you?
Yeah, mine didn't change, and it actually confirmed what I thought about the Lakers.
Which is?
That they're good and their want to just doesn't meet their can. All right? Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. Because I saw a team that was tired last night, but it wasn't that they didn't want to win. It wasn't that they came out and didn't try to win. And I respect them for that. Look, there's been too many situations where we thought, okay, we've got a big game. Everybody's going to show up. They're going to want to get this. And it hasn't happened for one reason or another. So to Joy's point, I thought that's an excellent observation in that when, and yours as well, Acho, in terms of when you're in the playoffs, you're going to have games where you're going to be tired, where you're going to come off of a draining game, and then you're going to have to fly, and you're going to have to go to the next city, and you're going to have to play another game. It may not be back-to-back, but that previous game will have taken something out of you, and you're going to need someone else on the team to pick you up. Numbers-wise, LeBron, AD, Austin Reeves, they all delivered. The bench absolutely did not, and there are times where you're going to have to turn to someone else to pick you up. And that's where I thought, if I look at the last 9 games, and we got excited about them winning 7 out of the last 8, without question, the Clippers are the best team that they've played in the last 9 games. And you played them at home. I don't know if you guys were hiding and were at the game. I was there. There was a strong Lakers contingent. I was actually impressed that the Clippers contingent was as noticeable as it was, technically a Clippers home game. But if you're going to play on the road and you're tired, when you come home and you have fans there and it's a familiar building, that's when it's going to pick you up. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for the Lakers. So, again, do I admire what they're doing? Yes. But if there's a reason why I've said, come to the postseason, they're not good enough to beat the best of the best. Last night was proof of why.
Joy, here's why my opinion changed. My opinion changed because I really thought after the last 8 games, the Lakers could go deep into the playoffs, like real deep, like Western Conference Finals. Maybe you get lucky, a couple injuries to some opposing teams. You might find yourself in the NBA Finals. I truly thought that. But after last game, I was like, uh-oh, Shady. If the Lakers can't get past the Clippers, I already doubt they'll be able to get past the Suns. We know what the Warriors are capable of doing. Now I'm like, I don't even know if the Lakers are going to be able to get past the first round, let alone a play-in tournament, like let alone a play-in game. I figured 2-5, they could at least stay more competitive in that ball game.
Yeah, but like slow down a little bit. First of all, the Clippers team had 3 days off. Where the Lakers had a back-to-back from an overtime game. Like, that matters. Think about that, though. If you work in this desk all day and then somebody's at home, like, it's a big difference. Where I look at in the playoffs, it won't be like that. This team won't have 3 days off and then we'll have an overtime game. So we got to put, like, some real context on what's really going on. I mean, listen, they lost to a good team. Like, the Clippers, like Joy talked about, they beat them 11 times straight. It's not, like, on accident. That's a good team. And you beat them when they come from an overtime. You had 3 days of rest. Like, all that stuff plays into part of the win and losses.
Yeah. And just in case you guys don't know, like NBA and NFL teams, we have our own text string because we're a team. And we were on it last night. I was on it more than anybody else because I was at the game, and I thought at some point you guys go, okay, we know.
Oh, that's you. So that's you that keep texting like that. Okay, I didn't want to say because I didn't know who that was.
You add your teammates' numbers to the group chat usually.
I didn't know who that was.
Usually, you know, if he's on the show, you kind of save his name. You could call him Slick, you call him Rick, but you should probably like save.
I was confused because normally when all the hate is coming from Dave and sometimes you, it was a lot of hate. I'm like, who is this?
What?
But
you know what? I did have a couple shots there. I did throw a couple last night.
Here, can we do this? Can you add his name to the group chat like while you're here? Your phone's on.
No.
That's
personal.
That's a bat phone? I got you.
This is for everybody, but the other one's like strictly Fox and all the good stuff. You know what I mean?
We'll handle that after the show. I'll confirm it gets done. Go ahead.
Yes, but being there, let's be clear. The Clippers were the best team that they've played. The Clippers did not impress me. Like, the Clippers left the door open for that Lakers team, as compromised as they might have been, fatigue-wise. They made all kinds of mistakes. That game should have been put away, and the Lakers should have never threatened. Lakers came back and got within 8 I think it was in the third quarter. There were times where the Clippers would just create
Here's what
problems for themselves.
I disagree with you. I believe if it would have been a younger team, the Lakers would have gotten back in there. It's like watching that game, I saw this. I saw LeBron James, who is kind of a master gauge of separation, both between teams and score. I saw him stalk his prey. He was like, okay, the Clippers are up by 12 early on in the game. It was 18-6. I'm not tripping.
Yep.
LeBron only had 3 points in the first half. I think that was like his lowest.
Yeah, he didn't play well in the first half.
What happened in the second half? He stalked his prey.
Yeah.
He hit a 3. Then he hit another 3. Then he cut when AD had the ball and they double teamed him. He cut, he got that basket, left hand finish. He had 8 points instantly. I was like, oh, he's stalking his prey. Like LeBron is just going to hunt him. Late in the fourth quarter, he'll take the lead, they win. But I viewed the Clippers, I believe it was Norm Powell plus Kawhi plus Highland, if I'm not mistaken. Late in the game, just dagger three. Dagger three. I believe if it would have been like, say, the Kings or, say, an injured Warriors team or, say, the Pelicans, I think the Lakers could have won that game had it been a less experienced or more maligned team.
But also, when your bench is scoring no points, it's hard to climb back in the game. Like, LeBron can have a second half like he had, but somebody else has to step up. Yeah. Somebody else has to have that production, particularly when you have Powell playing like that and Kawhi playing like that. They're hitting those shots. That's got to be compensated somewhere. Again, those guys might be tired also. It is a long trip. It's a long flight. You need all your sleep. You need all your rest. Okay, all these things play a part in it. But for you to change your opinion of what the Lakers are off of them losing to the Clippers, I feel like that's maybe you validated. I could see because you've already felt that way. But to move off of it, like that's to Shady's point. That's the other team's going to be tired too in the playoffs. Right. The other team's going to have battle in that game in the playoffs. Now they might be at home in that next game, so it might benefit them. And yes, I understand the further you go, the more you're playing, the more tired you get. I get all that. And that's fair. But this is a Clippers team that's getting up, that had a lot of rest. Right. And played really well.
Let me ask you this, Joy, in the left side of the table. I can't condone the Lakers bench if I believe the Lakers' best bench player is now a starter in Austin Reeves. Like, I can't simultaneously praise Austin Reeves for what he's doing as a starter, but then condone the Lakers bench. Because truth be told, immediately after the trade, Austin Reeves was the Lakers' best bench player. Coming off the bench, giving you 14, giving you 16. Once you move him into the starting lineup, I'm not going to be mad that Vanderbilt didn't go off for 17. I'm not going to be mad that Hachimura didn't go off for 20. I'm not going to be mad that Dennis Schroeder only had 8. I'm not going to be mad that Troy Brown
had 2, and Rui had what, 4?
Yeah. Well, the guy that you would look to step into that breach scoring-wise would be Malik Beasley.
Yeah, Beasley.
And he didn't give it to you. And yes, the Lakers role players had to make the trip to Utah and come back too. But outside of Dennis Schroeder, who played 42 minutes, they all played 15, 20 minutes in Utah. There was no reason that if they had the wherewithal to step into the breach and pick up, because AD and LeBron and Schroeder and Reeves all played heavy minutes in Utah, if the bench had the capability of carrying the water, then last night was the time that they should. And I just, let's be honest. Rui Hachimura, is there a reason that we should believe that he's going to step in and be a significant player? Or Jared Vanderbilt or Malik Beasley
Schroeder's
for
the
a
only
team
one
that's contending, right? And Austin Reeves, this is the distinction. Like, you can be a great bench player, and now they put you in the starting lineup. They hunted him every opportunity. You're playing against the frontline guys. That's different.
Real quick. Do you think like the what about the rotation? You think he's still trying to figure out the rotation?
I believe so.
Because I feel like sometimes Beasley should play more, and he doesn't.
100%. But that's because you've got how many weeks, and LeBron was out, and like, how does it work? They're fit. This is why I'm hesitant to jump on the Lakers bandwagon, because they're figuring it out on the fly, and everybody they're playing is not.
From the Western Conference to the Eastern Conference, the Milwaukee Bucks secured the overall #1 seed, the best record, not just in the East, but the best record in the entirety of the National Basketball Association. But the real question is this: are the Bucks the best team in the NBA? The Phoenix Suns are undefeated when Kevin Durant plays. How about the Sixers? Joel Embiid, 52 points the last time we saw him on the court. Who's the best? That's next.
I'm so excited for this guy.
It is exciting times at Fox Sports as our team has picked up 2 Webby Award nominations for all of the hard work that was done during the FIFA World Cup over there in Qatar. You need to visit vote.webbyawards.com to support World Cup Now, nominated for the Best Social Content Series, and our World Cup Hub on the Fox Sports app, nominated under Best Mobile User Experience. The voting period is open from now until Thursday, April 20th. Again, please visit vote.webbyawards.com and find our nominations under Best Social Content Series and Best Mobile User Experience.
Okay, let's get to the National Basketball Association. Milwaukee Bucks, they did that thing yesterday, even without Giannis. He didn't even have to bother suiting up. He was in all black sweats, chilling. But Portis went crazy. Drew Holiday did his thing. Lopez buckets. And they secured the best record in the NBA with a couple games to go. It's very simple for me. Milwaukee Bucks are the best team in basketball. Now, what I love about doing a daily show, and really what I love about working with these people, they challenge me. Not just to watch the game like you at home watch the game, but have a notepad out and take specific notes and pay particular attention to detail. I'm going to show you all why the Bucks are the best team in basketball, and it had nothing to do with what occurred during the game. After the game, Bobby Porter Jr., he was getting interviewed. And this moment after the game is what reminded me the Bucks are the best. Not only did they wait for him, but Shady, I'm always waiting to see, are players empowered on their teams? I was like, okay, Giannis didn't play, but he'll break out the huddle. It wasn't Giannis. It was Thanasis. Maybe the 10th player, 11th player off the bench, typically on that team, he broke that team out. Now, why in the world does that matter? Acho, you really gonna tell me that a huddle is gonna tell you who the best team in basketball is? Yes. Because I think teams that have the most players empowered are the teams that do the best. I recall watching the Celtics last year, and I was like, who the heck is this number 11 Pritchard dude who has the confidence to take shots versus KD? Who is this guy? I literally was like, who is this dude? Grant Williams. Who is this dude out here taking threes? You got Tatum on the court. You got Smart on the court. You got Brown on the court. And you have enough confidence. You have enough empowerment to shoot the ball with them dogs out there? Who are these cats? And Pritchard and Williams were a large part that they went all the way to the NBA Finals. So when I'm watching teams, whether it's the team on this desk, the team at your work office, the team in football and basketball, does every player feel empowered to maximize their potential? And when I watch the Bucks, their players feel empowered. That, to me, along with having the best player in basketball and Giannis, is why I think they are the best team. I'll give y'all one more example of this. Mikal Bridges now plays for the Brooklyn Nets.
Yep.
Y'all realize since he went to the Nets, he has 11 30-point games?
Balling. He is balling. He's balling.
Blown up.
When he was in Phoenix, he had one 30-point game. Same dude. Same exact dude. He ain't get no taller. He ain't get a better handle. He ain't get a better... Same dude.
That's true, yeah.
He went from one 30-point game to 11 of them in less games because he was empowered. The teams that have the most individuals with the most empowerment are typically the best teams. And it just helps that the Bucks also have the best player. That, for me, Slick, is why the Bucks are the best team in basketball, the most empowerment of all the players. What you say?
I'm so glad that you mentioned Peyton Pritchard. Who does he play for?
You talk to me.
Yeah. The Boston Celtics have a lot of that same mentality.
Yes,
you mentioned Grant Williams, you mentioned Peyton Pritchard, and that's why, look, you and I have been on the Bucks bandwagon from the beginning. So,
wait, you on the Bucks bandwagon too?
Oh, in terms of winning it all this year?
Did you know
yes.
that? I didn't know.
Yes.
I didn't
Who did you
think?
think?
Well, you also didn't have his number saved, so I'm not surprised.
I've never heard.
Exactly. We talk a lot about KD
I didn't hear him say anything. Okay, now I know that.
Well, I just knew he was picking somebody whoever came out the East.
The Bucks.
What's that?
True.
He was picking whoever came out the East.
Yes, and I believe that the Bucks should. And I mean, Shady, honestly, when you and I talk NBA, generally you set the conversation.
Continue.
It's where you want to go.
Look, let's continue. Go ahead.
So, but
Slick.
The problem is the Bucks, as the best team, they have the best record. All the things that you mentioned, genuine. But there's a problem. Can you be the best team when there's one team out there that you cannot beat? And that's the Boston Celtics for the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, if the Philadelphia 76ers knock off the Boston Celtics...
And that might happen. And that might happen.
That's right. Then there's a clear path for the Milwaukee Bucks because the Sixers aren't doing that to the Bucks. It's going to be very much about matchups. But the Celtics have so dominated the Milwaukee Bucks this year, or even going back to last year's playoffs, who won, who knocked them out, right? They have they're equal defensively in defensive rating. Celtics have a much better offense, right? They've played 3 times this year. 2 of them absolute blowouts. The one that the Bucks won was in overtime, and that was without Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Al Horford. And they won in overtime. So that's where I'm still on the Bucks because I picked them from the beginning, and I believe in those intangibles. But, brother, there's a huge asterisk on that because as long as the Boston Celtics are not in their sphere, I can say the Milwaukee Bucks are the best team in basketball.
Where you at, George Taylor?
So that wasn't a very convicted yes.
No, it's a qualifier. I had to qualify.
Beat around the bush.
That's a full cup of qualification right there.
A lot in there. I mean, I'm kind of doing the same thing because I'll say sure, but I'll say if they're healthy. I hear you on the intangibles, but there's other teams that have intangibles. The Celtics have intangibles.
True.
The Warriors have intangibles. That's kind of it. but that was Sacramento. You know, they're like scrappy, the Cinderella.
You might say the Heat have intangibles.
The Heat always have intangibles. It's
their
culture,
organization.
You know, it's culture. But really, it's about if they're healthy. Because and I understand, everyone's banged up this time of year. I get it. But Chris Middleton is an essential part of their success.
True.
And if he is not going to be healthy throughout this playoff run, I'm sorry, I don't see it happening for the Bucks. You need all of your weapons in the postseason. I'm not worried about Giannis. Giannis is going to figure it out. The other guys will eventually get healthy. Grayson Allen's been banged up, Pat Connaughton, but Chris Middleton is very, very concerning. He left the game last night after 8 minutes. He's only played in 33 games. He left with knee soreness. He missed the first 20 games with the wrist, and they've been managing his knee soreness. He is an essential part of their success. He is a big part of their success. And if he is not going to be healthy, as close to 100% as he can be going into the postseason, I'm going to say sure, but there's another where this one actually has stuff in it, but there's some qualifiers.
I was about to say, it went from confidence to less confidence to less confidence. Where you at? Is it the Bucks' best team?
No, it's not. They're not even the best team in the East. Anyway, real quick. Who's the hottest player playing right now, though, when he plays?
Kevin Durant.
Like, what are we talking about? The God. Like, we just jumped over him? Every time he play, they win. Even though it's
Come on, Nacho, back up what you did yesterday.
If you want to make some money, you bet on the Suns with Kevin Durant's playing. Can't make this up. The kid is, come on, he's shooting 58% from the field. That's like video game stuff, like dunk. Come on.
And Shady's putting his money where his mouth is.
52% from 3? I can't even make this up. First of all, I want to go to the offense, because I know we always talk about Kevin Durant offense, but since he's been playing with the Suns when he plays, they're number 1 on defense. People forget about that. You can put this guy as the number 1 or the 5 or the 4 or the 3, whatever you want. When I look at the matchups, right? I'm not even trying to like get too crazy or too hype about this, but it's like, are we paying attention to the greatness right here? If you already thought that the Suns was a good team, which you already thought they were, then you add in Kevin Durant with the leadership. Now, on my teams, I'm sorry. The guys that nobody knows, they're not breaking down the team. I don't know who the guy was.
Correct.
And I'm not hating on him.
You're right.
I don't know who he is.
He's right.
On my teams, though, it's going to be dudes like Chris Paul breaking it down.
Of course.
Right? A leader, a Hall of Famer. That's what we need. You're not following this dude. I don't know his name. You're not following him. You following Chris Paul.
Sure.
Yo, I need you to be on time. I need you to this, do that. I'm doing it. I got you. The other dudes, I don't know about them.
Sure.
So going to the playoffs, I'm going with the leadership, a guy like Chris Paul. I'm going with the best player playing basketball, Kevin Durant. And I'm going with one of the biggest stars in the game, D-Book. Holla at me.
Well, speaking of one of the biggest stars in the game, Lamar Jackson, it is the most intriguing story, quite literally, in all of sports in a long time. He still does not have his contract dispute done. But get this, Ravens general manager Eric DeCosta said they might draft a quarterback in the first round. The spicy gets spicier. We got to talk about it
The
next.
disrespect is continues, huh?
Yeah, you're not wrong.
GM.
Hey, college football fans, Joel Klatt here. And over on my podcast, The Joel Klatt Show, we discuss the best teams, players, and storylines in college football. This month, leading up to the NFL draft, I'm giving you my mock drafts, top 50 prospects, and interviews with draft experts. So follow The Joel Klatt Show on the Fox Sports app, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and get in on the fun.
Y'all are spoiled on this show. Spoiled. Why? Because in all honesty, we sit in the presence of greatness. We got to check in on our social life. The Eagles took a poll. They said we wanted to see who the most valued Eagles, if they were to be back on this team, would be. The results are in. These two are solid choices. You see Weapon X, Brian Dawkins, and the one and only.
Oh, man.
2-5.
Philly. I love y'all. If it's the Flyers, it's the Eagles. If the Phillies or the Sixers, I love y'all. I love y'all. Now, I will say this. I'm glad you just showed this part of it. Because they kind of had like the polls and it was X of it. But hey, as long as it's two of us.
Well, the question is which could play right now.
How many yards could you give the Birds right now?
With that offensive line?
That offensive line.
I mean, easy 1,100.
Oh, I want to see it.
And am I playing it? Now, I'm not going to try to, toot my own horn. Am I playing this? I get 2,000 yards with that offensive line.
You 2,000 all purpose. 2,000.
No, 2,000 rushing.
You wouldn't have got 2,000 rushing.
Huh?
There's only like two people that have done that.
I had 1,600 yards rushing.
Yeah, we had the best offense.
1,600 yards rushing, right?
Yeah, the best offense in football.
And I missed like a game or two. And that's some kids I didn't even play.
You did? Yeah, I remember.
Come on, now.
Here's the thing. I remember it was 2013 and Shady was up for the rushing title. It was Shady or DeMarco going into the game.
Had the belt.
And they was like, hey, before the game, the defense had our own huddle. We were like, hey, make sure Shady leaves.
For real?
Yeah.
Oh,
Make sure Shady leaves with the rushing title. After the game, Shady got the belt. He got the hat. I was like.
Yo, if Chip Kelly didn't slow it down, I could have blew that record out like crazy.
Shady, we have the best offense in football.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
What you mean slow it down?
I miss Philly.
Okay, let's transition to Baltimore because Lamar Jackson might be missing them soon as well. Ravens, they were speaking yesterday, but they declined to answer any questions about Lamar Jackson. However, General Manager Eric DeCosta was asked about the upcoming NFL draft and if the Ravens would consider taking a quarterback in the first round. Y'all have to listen to this.
It depends on the board, Jameson. It really does. I mean, I'd have to say yes because we have quarterbacks in our top 31. So just based on that alone, simple math, I would have to say yes.
All right, now here's what it comes to. Why are you cheating off my notes, bro?
Nah, I need to know somebody's name. I got it now, though. You always prepared.
Just snorted.
You never cheated on the test before?
I did.
I did plenty of times.
I did, but I didn't get caught.
I'm not surprised.
I didn't get caught. Now, did you put the note card on the back of like the calculator? Did you put the answers on the back? Like, how'd you cheat on your test?
I just asked Samantha what's going on with the.
And the teacher didn't hear you?
Man, come on, man. You gotta be smooth.
I used to have the craziest ways to cheat on
Talk to me.
tests. Well, in the break.
No, I have the best cheating story.
You cheat? You how good your grades were all the time.
Tips.
I got to give y'all this tip.
I only cheat on tests, though, by
I'm
the
going to
way.
be honest because I think there's a statute of limitations, so I'm good. I cheated on a weather and climate final exam in college. Now, here's what I had to do. I went into the room the day before the test, and I stood at the podium where the teacher was. Yeah, it's fine. I can't get in trouble now. I graduated with 2 degrees. So I went into the podium where the teacher was standing. And I looked at where could the teacher see because I needed to figure out where I was going to sit.
Why wouldn't you just study?
No.
Hey, you be judging everybody. You doing this?
Calm down. Let me tell my story. So I went to the podium to see where the teacher could see. Now, they were brilliant. What we did was we handed out 3 versions of the same test. An A version, a B version, a C version, to make sure that question 1 on the A test would be question 16 on the B test,
right.
question 25 on the C test. But here's what I realized. If I get 6 people together that are all in cahoots with me and we sit in a row, when you get the A test, pass it to me, I'll pass it to them. So now we'll have a B test.
You put more work into cheating than just studying for the test.
So then we had B by B,
This is
A
crazy.
by A, C by C. We all walked out of there with like 90 pluses because we put a smart person skip one, smart person skip one.
Were you like
smart
about to
person skip
fail
one.
the test, the class or something?
What class was this?
Weather and climate. It was an elective.
That is some
elective.
football stuff.
Hope your
if I've ever
parents,
heard
hope
it
your
in my
parents see
life.
this.
It was an elective to get me into the program I needed to get into.
This is at Texas?
I think you're just doing a
Why
lot.
Texas?
That sounds like a lot. That's a lot of work.
It was a lot of work.
I wasn't even a good student, and I'm too lazy to even work that hard at cheating.
That was my most prideful and elaborate cheating story. Only time I cheated.
I don't believe
I don't know
that.
if I believe that.
Look 'em,
That's
baby.
very-
I already gave the commencement
Jason
speech too, so
Bond
It
coming
was
down
crazy.
from the ceiling.
It was crazy. Okay, Joy, how should Lamar Jackson feel as we make a hard right turn? How should Lamar Jackson feel about the general manager's comments saying, look, we might draft a quarterback in the first round?
I mean, he should be mad. He should feel disrespected. Draft a quarterback then. Waste the first round pick. Do it. Who?
Is it a waste?
I don't know. How you feel good about what they're going to get at 21?
I don't know. Do I feel good about Lamar Jackson being the quarterback of the Ravens for a whole lot longer?
Is Lamar leaving of his own accord? because he's got to be traded in order for that to happen.
Answer with another question, because the questions
we're going
back and forth without answering.
But here's the thing, though. There are a lot of questions in this situation. It felt that press conference was very weird also. It was like they were under oath or something. The PR got diving in. No!
Yeah, right. Leave it to the PR staff. No, stop.
Don't answer that.
You can't ask those
No
questions.
Lamar Jackson questions. Don't say his name. It's weird. Like, what are we doing? This is the face of your organization for the past 5 years. Relax. Just get the deal done, or don't. But it's so messy now. You go into the draft. After the draft, it's not going to get any easier.
True.
Because if you don't draft a quarterback, and this was just a smokescreen, now you really have Lamar Jackson. Or you can go with what you were doing when Lamar Jackson was out, averaging 13.7 points a game. You do that.
It's
You like that idea?
Yeah, it's last in
Who are
point.
we beating like that, Shady?
Nobody.
Who are we beating?
They was 2-4 without him.
And Lamar's not playing on this deal, nor should he.
Right.
So I don't know. I just thought that press conference was really weird. I understand they're supposed to be talking about the draft, but it was a legitimate question also.
My thing, it is a legitimate question, and I always say that. Like, I hate defending.
Don't be the beat reporter guy right now.
I'm defending the PR staff, which I hate to do. Like, oh man, I don't want to be on the side of PR. But the Ravens have talked about this how many times?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it is the dominant storyline of the offseason in the NFL, maybe all of sports. And they talked about it in January. They talked about it at the Combine. They talked about it a month ago. I mean, I got quotes right here. John Harbaugh, since the season ended, said they're 200% committed to Lamar being their quarterback. Eric DeCosta said trading Lamar Jackson has not factored into their conversations. He said he's optimistic a deal can still get done. How many times do they have to say the right thing? I mean, and at this point, we've known what? I love Lamar so much for doing this. He said the day that John Harbaugh was talking to the media in Phoenix at the owners' meetings, that's when he said he wanted to trade. When John Harbaugh was talking to the media, he threw him out there with about 8 minutes of notice that he had requested a trade, and he had to talk to the media. Like, what else is there to say? There's nothing new. So I don't blame the Ravens for saying, look, guys, there's no developments in this story.
So Lamar shouldn't be offended then. It's just...
I wouldn't be. And as for, the fact that they said they would draft a quarterback in the first round, it's the Baltimore Ravens. I've been saying this since July. If there's an organization that's going to take a forward-thinking attitude about this, it's Baltimore.
True.
They do this stuff all the time. Last year, they drafted a guy who tore his Achilles in the pre-draft process, David Ojabo, the Michigan DN. Mm-hmm. They drafted a guy they knew wasn't going to play for a year. They drafted Lamar Jackson while Joe Flacco was still on the roster after a winning season. This is a forward-thinking team when it comes to doing stuff like this. So if the value is amazing where they pick, you'd have to be crazy not to consider it.
Lamar's 26.
I believe just turned 26.
You shouldn't be thinking like that at 26. You got a 26-year-old quarterback?
26-year-old quarterback who you can't get to agree to a deal?
First of all, what the GM should have said was, no, that's not our plans. Our plans are to sign Lamar Jackson. That's the only thing on our mind. If something else happens, we'll worry about that later. But our main concern is signing Lamar Jackson. That's what you should have said. You're not talking about a regular player here. You're talking about Lamar Jackson. You're not talking about Joe Flacco at the end of his career. You're talking about Lamar Jackson, the best player on your team. So, yes, I think the way he said that was very disrespectful. When you talk about the franchise quarterback, where you're going back and forth about the contract, one thing for sure, they got to get this deal done. And we can talk about getting quarterbacks in the draft. They'll be like the Packers, right? The franchise guy is unhappy. Mm-hmm. Got this rookie there. He's going to be waiting and waiting to play. You don't want to have a dysfunctional organization like we've seen when Joey talks about with some things the Packers does. I just feel like this. Your main concern is Lamar Jackson. Not no rookie that you got to train over and over again, develop him. And then who are you going to get at 22? We going to wish to get the kid from Florida? Was Richardson?
Anthony Richardson.
I mean, and I never hate on no rookies. All I'm going to say is this. He's not Lamar Jackson at all. I seen him play in college. Now, he can get better because people can get better. I just want to go with the sure thing. When you draft these rookies, you know what you're getting. When you have a player that you've seen on tape, the good, the bad, you know what you have there. Don't play around and go get a rookie. Now you set your franchise back 2 years, 3 years.
Shady, I don't think Lamar should be offended, though. I'm with the phrase and figure of speech, ask me no questions, I tell you no lies. You don't ask, I ain't going to have to lie.
So that means you always tell the truth?
Nah, just don't ask if you don't want me, if you don't want to get that
Let's say
lie.
if you get the question.
If I get the question, I got to keep it a buck with you. Unfortunately, and sometimes the truth hurts. I believe that's what happened right now with Eric DeCosta. He didn't come out and say, we're going to draft a quarterback. He was like, well, we have several quarterbacks ranked within the top 31. So if a quarterback makes sense when we are picking, I'm paraphrasing, obviously, yeah, we might draft a quarterback. I don't even hate the logic because negotiations are all about leverage. So if you cannot get Lamar Jackson signed, and they believe that they have made to some degree a fair offer, $133 million guaranteed, second to only Deshaun Watson. If Lamar's not willing to take that, then you can't wait till it starts raining to build the ark. You better start building that joint before the rain starts coming. And what they might be doing is building the ark before it starts raining. So Lamar Jackson has to understand those comments aren't even offensive. They're real. What comment has a general manager made this offseason about a quarterback that we have applauded? None.
I was about to say.
Anytime that Brian Gutekunst speaks, anytime that Mark Murphy, these are president and general managers for the Packers, speak, nothing positive. Anytime Woody Johnson, owner of the Jets, speaks, it's not positive. When the Ravens first spoke and John Harbaugh first spoke, it wasn't positive. So what comment can you make that will be deemed as positive?
But the idea that you're going to draft it's even a conversation of drafting a quarterback in the first round. Not in the third round. He said third round or fourth round. The first round. First round draft picks are extremely valuable.
True.
Their offense needs help outside of Lamar Jackson. So for you to use a first round draft pick, particularly a team like Baltimore, on a quarterback, you're saying we're moving on.
Here's what's fascinating, though.
You're certainly not using a first-round draft pick on a quarterback and then signing Lamar Jackson. That makes no sense.
See, but I disagree. And my thought process is like this, Joy. It's like if they were to draft a quarterback like Anthony Richardson, quarterback out of Florida, he would be, of all the quarterbacks, the one that would be available at 21 or 22 because his ceiling is very high, but his floor is basement low. So it's anywhere in between. He would be the quarterback that would be available. He needs time to develop anyway. So if you were to draft a quarterback in the first round, Lamar Jackson's playing on the tag.
You're making a lot of sense right now.
He's currently tagged. If he's not going to accept 133 and he wants Deshaun Watson money and you're not going to budge, you might have to tag him again next year. In which case, he's tagged again. You can't tag somebody 3 times in a row. So if you can't get Lamar Jackson under a deal in the next 700 days, now you have a quarterback who sat for 2 years, who needs to sit anyway, and who would now play.
Who said Lamar is playing under the tag? Who said he's playing?
Great. So if he's not, then you need a quarterback.
Then you have a rookie?
Think about who they had last year.
First-round rookie.
Bingo. Tyler Huntley. Tyler Huntley is an undrafted quarterback.
If I'm Lamar Jackson and you draft a first-round quarterback, it's the end of my time in Baltimore. That's it. And it should be.
But it already is. Because he said he wanted to trade before you drafted a quarterback. So
yeah, but you do that, you get some leverage to get the money you want. Listen, don't play yourself here.
Talk to me.
The Ravens really want to get a deal done with Lamar Jackson.
Sure.
So they say all this stuff to try to, I guess, stir it up a little bit. They make him get him antsy. Oh, let me sign that deal. No. Lamar wants to play for the Ravens, and the Ravens want Lamar Jackson. Mm-hmm. Don't get that confused. My thing is the way they're going by doing it, like trying to insinuate you want to draft a first-round quarterback when you got Lamar Jackson there?
He didn't insinuate.
Come on, man.
He was asked the question.
But see, listen.
We expect quarterbacks to lie all the time. As a matter of fact, the quarterback is honest. We get on there. Why did you say that? It's called quarterback speak.
But why he had to lie?
He's not a quarterback.
But Dave,
he's general manager.
Why he doesn't say, listen, that's not our concern right now. I'm not even answering that. Our main concern is signing Lamar Jackson. That's it.
Point.
Did you see Harbaugh's face when he asked the question? Come on now. I'm playing with number 8.
It's a draft press conference. That's the whole. Every team does it. They sit down and they talk about what they need, what they're thinking going into a draft. If the value lines up, again, quarterbacks are so valuable. You'd have to be crazy not to at least consider.
What would you do? What would you do? What would you do?
If Anthony Richardson fell to me at 22,
you gonna get him?
They would get him.
And again, fall because the massive expectation is that Anthony Richardson is talented enough to be a top 10 prospect. If he falls to a spot where you never had a chance and you got all this turmoil with Lamar Jackson, on top of that, you guys know this better than anybody. How much do we praise Howie Roseman for being ruthless?
How are we gonna pay his quarterbacks? How we pay his quarterbacks?
Yes, Joy.
So, Lamar's pretty good.
He's very good.
Yeah.
we don't think he has enough to work with on the offensive side of the ball.
He does not.
What is Anthony Richardson going to do with that Baltimore offense?
He's going to have a much cheaper salary that will enable me to put a better offense around him.
Here's my thing, though, because we talk about it. The Ravens don't have a ton of needs for their roster. I was thinking about it this morning. Sure, but truth be told, their needs are, what, 2 wide receivers? Like, that's not a ton.
2, 3? I mean,
wouldn't you want to use a first-round pick on
a running back?
wide
Think about
receiver?
this. The only team that I know of that has made Odell Beckham an offer this offseason since his workout is the Baltimore Ravens. That's the only team I know of. The Baltimore Ravens drafted a first-round wide receiver who, while he was healthy, and I believe he's healthy now that strength coach is gone, Rashad Bateman. So if you have Odell Beckham and you have Rashad Bateman and you have an overachieving Devin Duvernay, assume you don't have Duvernay. Draft another receiver in the 2nd or 3rd round.
Still got Mark Andrews.
You still have Mark Andrews. Go ahead.
Wait, they don't have Odell Beckham.
No, I'm saying that's the offer that they put out there.
We got to go with what they have. We can't go ifs. Can we do that, please?
But if you don't have to earmark, and we're talking about a world where Lamar Jackson would move on, which I think, if that were to happen, I think he eventually would. You don't have to earmark $32+ million for Lamar Jackson.
The Ravens have the worst offensive help at any team. Do you agree with that?
Of the contenders, I agree.
Contenders.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Giants, but Giants. Yeah, Giants.
The Giants have done a little bit of work this
number one receiver.
Darren Waller.
Who's the number 1 receiver? Do you guys even know? You probably know.
Baltimore? Oh, shoot.
You may not know.
Is it
say Duvernay.
Devin Duvernay?
No. If you watch him this last go-around, I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint.
Who was it?
He got cut from the Chiefs. Then he went to the Raiders, and got cut there. Then he went to Baltimore. He was balling. He beat Eli Apple on the slant and go.
Who, your man Deshaun?
No.
Who? I don't know.
I'll give you a hint.
DeMarcus Robinson.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, all right. So I play with him in the Chiefs. He's really, really good, but he was like the 3rd or 4th receiver. He came to Baltimore as the number 1. That should tell y'all something, though.
Here's
They need help. I don't dispute that.
D-Rob, my boy, so I want y'all to hate us.
No hate at all. No hate at all. Respect and love from the show.
My boy. That's my boy.
Well, speaking of hate, Luka Doncic got some, not from his current teammate, but from his teammate's dad, Tim Hardaway Sr. He said that Luka lacks leadership. It was some heavy criticism. We got to tell you what we make of that when we return. It is getting ugly in Dallas.
You know, Seven speak his mind, though.
You do? Now, look, y'all, the Mavericks have been struggling. It has been terrible. Tim Hardaway Sr., Hall of Famer, he called out Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic on the Carton Show. Y'all have to listen to this. My goodness.
They missing a leader. They missing a leader out there. Luka is not a leader. Kyrie is not a leader. Jalen Brunson was a leader.
Hey, it's no fun when the family feuds.
Fire.
Now, Tim Hardaway Jr., his son, plays for the Mavericks. He said he disagrees 100% with his pop's claim. Slick, I find that highly doubtful. You know, you talk to your pops and you give him the real that you might not give the media, that you might not even give your teammates. But is it something or nothing, that criticism that Tim Hardaway Sr. said about Luka Doncic?
Even if he didn't get it from Tim Jr., it's something, because now it's a thing. Luka Doncic has been living in a very charmed existence up to this point, which is the media has loved him. Everything's good about Luka. We come into every season. He's the preseason favorite to be MVP.
True.
He's this, he's that. And now suddenly, for the first time,
It flipped.
we have something to focus on. This is the same as when you have a little disruption in any relationship. Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur. Now you start focusing and you start looking for the issues that might have been raised. Now we're going to question, is Luka leading? How's he interacting with his teammates? Is he getting them somewhere? We didn't do this before, so by the very
What changed?
nature...
I have a question.
Yeah.
What in the world changed? Because for fans at home who are wondering, well, Luke has been the golden child, he's been the golden boy, then now all of a sudden, Luka's a bad leader, it's Luka's fault, it's Luka's fault. You've been covering the NBA longer than just about anybody on television. What changed this year that made us more critical of Luka?
Started losing. I mean, I don't know that we were even talking about this prior to Kyrie Irving showing up, but as soon as they started to collapse, now it's like, well, wait a minute. Maxi Kleber's talking about Kyrie Irving being a great teammate. We're looking at Kyrie Irving's numbers, and we're saying, well, Kyrie Irving's, or we know what Kyrie Irving is, right? Like, we don't expect him to be the leader. We expect Luka to fix this thing, and he's not. So that's where I think that this criticism, whether it came from within the team or not, it now puts a target and a microscope on Luka in a way that we've never had before.
It's one of the most fascinating stories. Let's take it to the desk because I got to get everybody else's opinion on this one. Luka Doncic, Dave Hellman, you cover Dallas sports, not just Cowboy sports, but you quite literally live in Dallas and have for the last 11 years.
Right down the block from the AAC.
No doubt about it. American Airlines Center. You cover Dallas sports for a living, so you are entrenched in what is going on in the heartbeat of Dallas. Is that bad?
Yeah, that's brutal.
Come on. I got there just after the Mavs title, too.
You missed the parade even. Break this down for me, though. What's the heartbeat of Luka? What do you make of this criticism, something or nothing?
Can I just point out, like, is this the NBA or, like, Little League? Because it's not just Tim Hardaway Jr. and his dad. We got Mark Cuban saying Jalen Brunson's dad is the reason why that blew up. Like, I don't remember parents being so involved at this level of basketball. I don't know.
This is why it's called the NBA AU, because it has adopted that same approach. And by the way, not to confuse this, but Kyrie Irving's stepmom is very involved in his life as well. So
fascinating.
Mark Cuban might want to tread carefully when he starts taking shots at parents.
As for the question, I think it's nothing. And I was intrigued. It's juicy. It's very interesting. I was intrigued when I saw the quotes from Tim Hardaway Sr. Then I looked, and I saw what Tim Hardaway Jr. had to say. And there's a lot of ways you can respond to this, right? Like, you can deflect, you can say nothing, you can just like, well, that's my dad, he doesn't speak for me. Tim Hardaway Jr. requested to talk to Mavs beat writers, and that's my background, so that's where I go. Tim McMahon, who I know and respect his work tremendously. I don't know if y'all can see this quote. It's hundreds. It is a paragraph.
Congrats, or I'm sorry.
Exactly, like TLDR, man. I'm not reading all this, but I mean, he basically, in lots and lots of words, wasn't just like, my dad's wrong, my dad doesn't speak for me. He also said, Luka does this, Luka's been a great leader, he's been such a big part of what we have to do. Like, he could have chosen to respond to this in a lot of ways, and the force and the detail that he pushed back on it, I'm going to trust the guy that's in the locker room if he feels that strongly.
Well, you had 2
I feel like I'm alone in that.
When the Hall of Famer speaks, I gotta listen.
Right
y'all.
now.
And I feel you, right? But I was thinking, if my dad said something about my quarterback or my linebacker, right? What am I going to say? I can't say, well, my dad's right. I can't say that. I got to cover for him, right?
But this is a lot of cover.
That's cool. Some got a little cover, some got a lot of cover. So you're going to cover your teammate, especially if it's the best player on the team.
Yeah.
I might get going because of this.
Yeah.
So I'm in the middle of it because I do see some things with Luka that I don't see leadership. Right? Now, he's a great player. He can score when they need him, and he can win games by himself. But the other part of leadership is not just the playing part. If you don't have somebody to do that for you, right? But if you're the main guy, there's times where I see him always pouting, body language. Growing up and playing football, the first thing on any sport, body language. He missed a pass, He get fouled, Instead of get back on defense, you pouting, you complaining. So I see things in Luka that he's still young, he could change, but as the leadership, I can see that. Now, on the other side, I got to give Luka some love because I'm a player, too.
Yep.
And I feel like every time as the main player, if something goes wrong with the team, you're the first one to get blamed. So it may come off as, where's the leadership at? So I'm in the middle of it. I just think that when the Hall of Famer speaks, though, you got to listen.
You got to listen, Joy, but are you listening? Something or nothing?
I think it's something. He is a Hall of Famer, and I don't buy too much into someone like Tim Hardaway Sr. speaking for his son or doing anything other than his observations. Now, obviously, you can't separate the two because they are family, and who knows if his son tells him nothing at all or everything. We don't know. But I do know that Tim Hardaway Sr. has played a lot of basketball, and he's a Hall of Famer. So whatever he sees and feels like sharing, I'm going to listen to. It's also not that far-fetched of an idea or the first time this has been presented.
True.
Now, certainly we don't think of Kyrie as a leader in that sense, but I also don't expect that of Kyrie. It's not Kyrie's team. He's the new guy here, and this is Luka's team. Luka is the face of it. Luka is the one that should be getting all the criticism, and we all love and have enjoyed Luka and his career so far. But if you get catapulted into always being favored to be the MVP, considered to be the next star, considered to be the next LeBron, considered to be the face of the league, being talked about as the best player in the league, well, that comes with all that criticism as well. And there are things about Luka's game that could be more refined. The complaining, the body language, taking care of your body, conditioning, all of those things are part of leadership as well. And the thing that Tim Hardaway mentioned also was defense. Luka not being a strong defensive player is going to hurt his argument for being the leader and the face of this organization moving forward, and with media and other players. There's two sides of the ball, and if you're going to be the best player, that's a side of the ball that you have to take care of. You mentioned Kevin Durant and what he's been with the Suns, Shady, since they've been there defensively. He's a great defensive player. We know what LeBron is defensively. We know what Giannis is defensively. We know what Joel Embiid can bring defensively. We know what the Celtics are collectively defensively. So when you look at some of the best teams, the Warriors, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, even Steph improved defensively last year. So that's a big part of his game that he talked about it. He'd be tired. Okay?
And
so does everybody else.
That's where I'm at. Whenever we talk about leadership, we always assume, can you lead everybody else? But the first person you always got to lead is yourself.
Right.
And I think it's something, because Luka doesn't even lead himself. Joy hit the nail on the head. Luka, a couple days ago, talked about how he has to be better about playing defense, but it's challenging. Of course it's challenging, but Kobe found a way to do it. LeBron found a way to do it. Kawhi found a way to do it. Giannis has found a way to do it. So, of course it's challenging, but Luka, if you want to be the player that we've already prematurely made you out to be, then you got to do that, because Luka has had a number two, a couple of them. He's had rim runners. He's had three-point shooters. He's had all-stars next to him, and he still hasn't found a way to get it done. So I buy all into the stock because he's not leading himself.
But like we can't kill him too much, right? Because Luka is Luka, and all that defense sounds cool.
Sure.
But he's not paid to be doing none of that.
I'm waiting.
You can always get defensive players. Sure. Am I tripping? Am I right?
You're not.
If you can still be the main dude and be the face of the NBA and have some guys to play the other defense.
Let me ask you this.
Put him on the weakest dude.
Let me ask you
and
this.
The defensive guy, go get him.
When in LeBron's heyday was he an 11 seed?
Let's go to Steph Curry.
When in Steph Curry's heyday?
11 seed? Oh, you said 11
and 11,
I thought you were about to talk about defense.
No, sir. I'm saying,
Steph
like, Luka
Steph's
and the Mavs are an 11 seed. LeBron's not letting that happen, and we were comparing Luka to Magic, to Bron, because they were playing defense.
They don't have no defense on that team.
But then be that.
Okay.
That's what Joy, that's what we're saying.
That's not in a part of the game. I agree with Shady in the sense that he's not that yet, so they should have more complementary players. But that doesn't absolve him of the responsibility, particularly this offseason, of developing that part of your game. Kyrie is what Kyrie is. Like, Kyrie wasn't brought there to play defense. Kyrie was brought there to be a productive offensive player, a skill talent. He's not brought there to bolster the defense, but Luka has a responsibility, particularly as a young player, to develop that.
And as a great player. Go ahead,
Here's the heart of the problem, is that Luka has been made out to be someone that he is not yet. Okay? He's been put on the level of the next LeBron. The best foreign-born, foreign-developed international player ever. Luka's MVP, all of that. He's not there yet. And this is I blame the media for doing this. We put a guy and we jack him up a little too high, and then suddenly wait a minute, he's not meeting what we expect him to do. Oh, there's something wrong with him. No. These holes that we're talking about, the defense, the bad body language, the conditioning, the leadership, they've been there all the time. It's why I've never considered him a legit MVP candidate, because I always knew he was going to wear down at the end of the year. The numbers are going to fall off.
He got numbers, though. He got numbers.
He do.
And you can
but if you have the ball all the time, you're going to have the numbers. You know what? We're going to talk about this later, because I'm going to.
We can talk about this later. If not, we are going to. When we return, we got to talk about this Lamar Jackson situation that is pure chaos. But this conversation was kind of chaotic, so we might continue that as well. I know we might have to run this back.
Luka is like that.
Run this back. Yeah, we gonna run this back. We're running this one back. Y'all don't go nowhere.
Luka.
Okay, continuing the most intriguing conversation of today, this Luka Doncic dialogue. Tim Hardaway Sr. said Luka lacks leadership. Why is it such a big deal? Because Tim Hardaway Jr. is Luka's teammate. Here is my biggest issue with Luka, is that he hasn't taken the steps. Shady, we can't say not playing defense isn't in Luka's game. Because what did we say about guys like Giannis? What did we say about guys like KD? Playing defense wasn't in KD's game when he went to Phoenix. When he went to Golden State, it was.
Agreed.
Think about Giannis. Man, Giannis can't make free throws. That was his biggest knock. What did Giannis do in Game 6 of the NBA Finals against the Phoenix Suns to win the title?
He's got better with free throws.
Sure, but what did he do in the most important moment? I believe he went 17 for 19 en route to 50 points to win the NBA title and Finals MVP.
Game before that, but go ahead.
But I'm saying in the biggest moments, he did what everybody said he couldn't do. Kevin Durant did what people said he couldn't do. Steph Curry could never play no defense. At least now he puts himself out there in positions to play defense. So my thought is very simple. I need the best players, at least in moments, to do something that they're not typically known for. And Luka has yet to even take strides playing defense, not even strides, Shady.
So first of all, do we look at Luka as a top 5 player? Let's say it together. Yes.
Right now?
In the last 2 years, last 2 or 3 years.
This before.
He's been a
Kyrie,
top 5 offensive player, sure.
Okay.
He's been first team all
offensive player.
He's been first team. Hold on. Let's slow down for a second.
I'm slow.
I'm slow as slow as can be.
Okay. He's been first team all NBA the last 2 years. That's hard.
It's hard to do. It's hard to do.
Okay, I can't cuss, but that's hard to. I'm lying. The last 3 years. The last 3 years has been all NBA first team. Okay, that's one thing. So like we can't like that. That's hard to do, bro. That counts.
It does.
The second thing is y'all talked about all the big men. You talked about Giannis. You talked about KD. Playing defense.
Sure.
Let's go to the guards though. Right?
Luka's 6'9".
Steph Curry.
He's 6'9".
He's a point guard. I don't care how tall he is. He's a point guard.
All right, go ahead.
He leads his team in points, assists, and rebounds. Rebounds kind of counts as defense.
Sure. Sure. Yes, sir. Yes,
okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
And steals. And steals. I said that.
Get to your point.
Is that defense?
Get to your point.
So when I look at a dude like Steph Curry, my favorite player, Steph Curry's not the best point guard.
Defender, yep.
Because he's a great defensive player? That's not why we love him.
No, you're right.
What they do is they get a guy like Wiggins to play defense on the perimeter. They get a guy like Gary Payton Jr. to play on the perimeter and play defense. We want Steph Curry to go around them screens and shoot them trade balls and win games. So my thing is, it's not more of Luka, it's more of the Mavs. Okay. Go out there and get you some defense and let them dudes play their defense.
Okay, but if you're a top 5 player, if you're a top 5 all-around player,
you're averaging 33 points a game,
and they trade away Dorian Finney-Smith, and I need you to play some defense. I need you to pick it up there because you're playing next to Kyrie Irving. If you're a top 5 player, top 5 in the league, I would expect that you can give me that.
Yo, I look at GMs and I look at ownership, right? You know who you draft. You know who you got in the building. No other team knows more about Luka than the Mavs, okay?
Sure.
So when I build this team together, and I know he can't play defense like that, the same thing the Warriors. I know what Steph Curry is. He's one of the best point guards ever played this game. I know he don't play defense like that. So what do I go out there and do? I go out there and get defense.
Let me write this up.
I'm with Shady on. I don't think that this particular season or the Kyrie trade or what's happened to them or the defensive situation is Luka's fault because they were bad defensively without Kyrie there.
Right.
They're bad now, but they were bad before.
They're worse.
Which is why they're worse now, but not by much.
They don't play defense.
It was really the same. So, and we knew that Kyrie didn't play defense. So if you knew that, you can't expect Kyrie to come in and be a different player.
Nope.
You already know what Luka is. If you were going to make
I don't like that though, Joy. That's not fair.
Look. There's two sides of this. Luka has a responsibility as a top-level player to always get better.
Yes.
Only Luka can do that. Only Luka can pour into his own game. Only Luka can work on his body. Only Luka can develop.
Right.
But Luka doesn't pick the players that play with him.
True.
Luka doesn't have to elevate everyone else into a whole other sphere. He's a great player. Maybe he's not with Giannis yet. I don't know if he's top 5. I'm looking at top 5 right now. Giannis, KD, LeBron, Jokic, Steph, Joel Embiid. Like
three-time All-NBA, first team.
He's an unbelievable talent. And I actually very much enjoy watching him play.
1,000%.
I do too.
But if he's going to step into that other space, and if he's going to live up to the legend that we've put him on, which is also not his fault, then he does have to develop a little bit more. But I'm with you. I hold the Mavs responsible for the state that they're in right now because they weren't good defensively.
Here's Joy.
Like,
he's 23 years old.
And you can say what you want about losing Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian
been in the league for 4.
But he's still
you mature with age.
To mature, and even emotionally, like with all of that. If you're going to trade those players away, you've got to replace that productivity.
I think these are two different conversations, honestly, because to bring it back to what started this, it's Tim Hardaway Sr. talking about this on TV, saying he's not a leader. My thing is that creates such a different image, right? Like, for right or for wrong, if the father of a Mavs player is saying this guy's not a leader, and a Hall of Famer,
yeah, sure.
If he's saying this, it says to me like, ooh, there is a huge issue in the Mavs locker room. Like, this guy's not a leader, he's not a good team guy. I don't think that's the case. I think Luka is an immature young player who needs to get a lot better. Honestly, him saying that he's too tired to play defense at his age, way more problematic for me.
Here's my
biggest
biggest issue, and this is for everybody at the desk. My biggest issue is, one, Shady, we can't say I'm going to give the credit to the players when talking about all things, right? We talked about this yesterday. We talked about it in regards to Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, Tom
Football,
Brady.
but different basketball.
Sure,
okay.
But I'm giving the credit. I'm putting more onus on the person who's on the court than the person who's on the bench.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing. My second issue, Joy, is we can't say we know who Luka is. At 23, your game should still be pliable. We've seen other athletes that are older game be pliable. We saw Jordan, like you've talked about at the length. Okay, he's going to develop more of a game from further away from the basket.
Yeah.
We've seen Giannis have to develop his game. We've seen Embiid, you've seen that firsthand, him have to develop his game. So I don't know who Luka is. Luka, I need you to be a better defender.
Right, but that's not going to happen tomorrow.
No, you're right.
So you know what Luka is.
They know that,
right now.
Right.
You knew what Luka was this year. You certainly knew what Kyrie was, and you knew what Dorian Finney-Smith was, and you knew what Spencer Dinwiddie was. So when you made that trade, you knew you were giving up. Everyone knew you were giving up a significant amount of your defense,
Right.
and you're bringing in a player who is not going to step up in that. Now you can hold Luka somewhat responsible for not compensating a little bit for that. But then again, you're expecting something that you haven't seen yet.
But this is why this is a thing that Tim Sr. said it. Because Luka Doncic is now on the clock to improve those things. It may not happen this season, but if he's not a better defender next year, if he doesn't come back in shape next year, then we're going to look at him in a different regard. And by the way, I'm good with all of this because I've seen the same maturation process with LeBron James, with Kobe Bryant, with any number of guys who came in and they had a certain ability, but then you said, you know what, you need to be our Mr. Everything. You need to be able to fill all of the elements that we do not have. You need to set the pace. The great ones,
they do that.
Answered that bell.
No.
The ones that did not.
LeBron is the only one I can say that to. They came
Magic Johnson?
They came right in. He had Kareem with him.
I'm saying, what did he do when Kareem wasn't there?
Listen, I'll say this.
What did he do when Kareem wasn't there? 42, 12, and 9?
A player, that's one game.
Then Luka, give me a game.
Time out, real quick.
Give me a game.
If you're talking about the superstars coming in,
give me a game.
I only know one superstar that came in like Luka and is being straight this the man, right?
Yeah.
LeBron's probably the only one that did everything. Came in the man, play offense and defense.
Yeah.
Everybody else probably had somebody that was the older vet to show him the ropes. You talk about Magic, he had Kareem.
Yep.
Maybe MJ, right? Other than that, you can't. Kobe Bryant had Shaq, and even before his first year, he didn't even really play like that.
Also,
so Luka was the only one that really came in this situation and had to do everything from offense and defense.
But he also
it's never been done. Come on, man.
Would you at least agree? Sorry, Rick.
What am I agreeing on?
This is the worst season of his career to this point. If he doesn't bounce back from this in some way,
you know what's funny though?
That's not good.
I didn't see none of this energy when last year them dudes went to the Western Conference Finals and nobody had them pick to even go there. He been carrying them dudes for years.
Okay.
And now you want to act like that? See, this is the problem. Hold on, real quick. This is what I hate about us sometimes on media, on TV. Because I've been there. You ball out your whole career. You have 1 year, it's not good. And the first one looking at is you. And that's sad, and we got to stop that.
You know what? No.
We got to stop that. We got to stop. The dude averaging 30 points a game. Leads his team in steals, assists, and rebounds. And we talking, man, go to the next segment, man.
Well, based on the command, I must go to the next segment. Lamar Jackson situation, it is still in limbo, and you will not believe the general manager said that they might draft a quarterback in the first round coming up. We have to talk about that when we return. I'm just following Shady's orders, y'all. That's all I'm doing.
Hands off me. I got to stop that, man.
Lamar Jackson, one of the biggest names in all of sports, clearly the biggest name this offseason, but his future in Baltimore, it is completely in question. General manager Eric DeCosta, he didn't even directly answer questions about the former MVP at a presser yesterday, but more importantly, he said they might pick a quarterback in the first round if it fit with their draft board. Dave, I think it makes sense. It's crazy, but I think it makes sense. Only reason is if you and Lamar Jackson can't come to terms, you need a contingency plan. Like the Ravens, they can't just be left, out there in the cold with no quarterback. I also think as much chaos as it caused, many could submit the Packers drafting Jordan Love might have been the best thing that's ever happened. You got back-to-back MVP seasons out of Aaron Rodgers by drafting Jordan Love. I think there's some fuel to that fire. Shady, you can attest to it living in locker rooms when they draft somebody who's your replacement. Furthermore, now that Aaron Rodgers wants to chunk the deuces, you have a contingency plan. I don't think it's crazy, Dave, but do you think it's crazy for the Ravens to draft a quarterback in the first round? Would it make sense?
Lord help me. I think it would. I really do. I mean, and clearly it depends on the circumstances. But yes, again, we talked about this earlier in the show. It's Eric DeCosta, the GM of the Ravens. It's his job to A, think about this analytically, and B, have a contingency plan. It's your. We focus on, we talked about this. The Ravens need receivers. They need help on their offense. It's the GM's job to think about 3 to 10 years, not the 2023 season. Not when you're talking about the draft, not when you're talking about a chance to draft a cornerstone player. Do I think it would be smart for the Ravens to sit at 22 and draft a quarterback? Not really, because then you're talking about, I don't know, maybe Hendon Hooker, the Tennessee quarterback who's currently dealing with an ACL injury. Maybe Will Levis, who I'm not sold.
Likes to lift weights.
What if he sure does? Oh my God, yeah.
Pause.
Pause. The man's got some biceps. That's all I'm saying.
Wow.
Look, what if though? Again, these teams, the Ravens and Lamar Jackson can't come to an agreement. Chill. What if you use the draft as a way to get past all of this? What if Lamar Jackson could get you into the top 5 of the NFL draft? We know the Indianapolis Colts are desperate for a quarterback. They've been getting everybody else's leftovers for the last 5 years. Jim Irsay hired one of his former players on a whim to be the coach. He's desperate for relevance.
That really worked out, didn't it?
It did not. But you know what might work out? Trading a top 5 pick for an MVP quarterback.
The dilemma, though, you still have to get him signed, Joy. If you're trading Lamar Jackson,
well, he's asked to be traded. He's asked to be traded. So he's requested a trade. So he's down with the idea of leaving Baltimore. I don't hate that part. I don't hate the idea of him going to the Colts, but it seems like nobody is willing to match what Lamar Jackson wants to be paid. So that's the issue that any team is going to run into, because that's why he hasn't signed in Baltimore, is that he's looking to be paid. Obviously, I think that the Colts are better with Lamar Jackson. I think the Ravens are better with Lamar Jackson. My issue with this conversation is that's what Green Bay does. That's not going to work the same way here in this current situation. Also, Aaron Rodgers wasn't, like, in the middle of, that I remember, a very contentious contract conversation that the entire world was talking about whenever they brought in Jordan Love. Like, this is a message. We're going to draft at 22. Lamar wasn't even drafted that high.
Right.
So we're going to take a quarterback in the first rounds that high, which I think would be a reach and a big swing. I don't think he would be as good as Lamar Jackson right now, whoever that might be. Yeah. Mind you, this is a draft that we're really only talking about 2 quarterbacks seriously in. So you're saying you have a contingency plan because you're moving on. Because what are you going to do with that pick? If you sign Lamar Jackson to a long-term deal that he wants, a big deal, then he's going to be your quarterback for the next 4 years. No, so you've essentially wasted a pick, or you've drafted a backup at a very, very high price.
This decision would mean that 2023 is Lamar's last season in Baltimore,
right,
if he even plays this season, I think.
Hey, Dave, how many first or second rounders and quarterbacks in this draft, would you say? Because you know better than we know. 4, and Hendon Hooker could be 4.5. I don't think he would be a first round. Second rounder? Yeah. Yep. And then 4. Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, C.J. Stroud, and Bryce Young. I just think, man, there's not a lot of options, and I do think you have 2 solid quarterbacks with Bryce and CJ, them 2, right? Everybody else is like, oh, okay. I feel like you'd be reaching. Because that's the 22nd spot, right, Dave? Yep. So it's like, man, you have your quarterback you need, and he wants to be there. Like, when you draft a player, especially as good as Lamar Jackson has been, typically they like to keep him in-house. On a second contract, that's like a no-brainer. You're 26 years old. So I just think going forward, for you to sign another rookie quarterback, it'll be the same thing like the Packers with Love and Rodgers.
Is the issue the first round? What if he would have said the second? Because as I'm sitting here thinking about it,
it's absolutely the first round.
Well, see, that's why I said so you say first
class of quarterback.
If he were to take if they were to take a late second round pick or a third round pick, that's what teams do. Like, you need to continue having backups and developing players at every position.
First or second, I have a problem for a second.
I would say second is a problem.
Here's why I bring this up, and I got to tease on this, but I thought it was asinine for the Eagles to draft Jalen Hurts, following Carson Wentz being the only quarterback in the history of the NFL to have a 4,000-yard season with no 500-yard receivers, and it worked out crazy enough for the Eagles. Now, some might only hear, did you just mention Carson in the same breath as Lamar? I remind you, the only quarterback in the history of the NFL with 4,000 passing yards and no 500-yard receivers. So if you plan for the future, as crazy as it sounds in the present, it might actually work. But again, Lamar,
I didn't think it was that crazy for them to take Jalen Hurts.
You didn't like Carson Wentz. Anyway, coming up, we got to take care of some family business. Don't go anywhere, y'all. It's been a crazy show.
They paid him, too. They gave him $100 million.
$1 million?
They did.
Sure did.
Okay, the craziest thing I saw on social media yesterday, Cam Newton, he gave a list of quarterbacks that he would actually back up. Deshaun, Lamar, Justin Fields, Tua Tagovailoa, Malik Willis, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Jalen Hurts, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, and Sam Howell. What'd y'all make when y'all saw Cam Newton put that?
I love it. We'll take him to Philadelphia. I like it. Come on.
Did he give it out when he was wearing that hat?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. It was like the press conference.
Come on, Cam. Let's go, baby.
Why didn't he mention Mahomes?
I don't know, because Mahomes wasn't on his 7-on-7 team. That's what like 2/3 of these guys.
Why didn't he mention maybe does he think he can beat these guys out? Like, is it reverse psychology?
Nah, Lamar Jackson
a lot of the guys he mentioned were friends of his.
He ain't beating them dudes out.
But why not mention Mahomes? Like,
I don't know.
I mean, come on, man. It's the best of the business.
I hope somebody.
Mahomes up here, though. Come on, dog.
that's why you want to back him up.
I hope somebody takes him up on it.
Come on, hey, come to Philly, though, Cam. We need you, baby. This is just in case, my boy. You know what I mean?
Tip for us,
Case, my boy. You know what I mean?
Tip for us,
Case, my boy. You know what I mean?
Tip for us,
Case, my boy. You know what I mean?
Tip for us,
Case, my boy. You know what I mean?
Tip for us,
Case, my boy. You know what I mean?
Tip for us,
Case, my boy. You know what I mean?
Tip for us,
Case, my boy. You know